trick to doing this commission was to do the artwork and not re-illustrate the stories, but really have your own take on it and come up with your own ideas and personalize it. I felt like I really wanted to do something that was important to me when I was growing up. And that's how I came to do Dr. Seuss as my choice of an artist and illustrator. He's so wonderful and magical, and I didn't really worry too much about whether the content of what I did was going to be, upsetting or depressing or sad, because I knew it wasn't going to be. I just wanted to make work that when people were sitting there waiting and worrying about themselves, that they didn't worry about themselves or their children. They could look at the work and feel happy and kind of get lost in it in the way that I think Dr. Seuss is so great at doing. The last page of the book, they're talking about should they tell mother, and they say, should we tell her about it? Now, what should we do? Well, what would you do if your mother asked you? And I think that's a line that kids think about, like, well, would you tell your mom if something happened, or would you just pretend nothing happened? One of the prints I have is sort of this big chair with nobody sitting in it, and there's like the goldfish bowl from The Cat in the Hat, and then there's just like a little apple under the chair, and you don't really know how it got there or how the goldfish bowl came to sit on the chair. And that's kind of what happens in the story. I mean, Mom comes home and probably everything is back where it was, but there's like, did something happen here? I remember when I read the Cat in the Hat books, there was always this really good food. There was always like a cake with pink icing, or, reading those books always made me want to have something to eat that was in the book. So I wanted to get some food in there as well. The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, in addition to loving that story, I'd like to make artwork that has clothing in it. And I've always been really interested in that. So I like the idea of reinterpreting the hats, because in the actual book, the hats are pretty much all the same. He keeps taking off the hats, and at the very end, there's kind of a big sort of fanciful hat. And I thought, well, it would be fun to make every hat really kind of funny and interesting. When the people are looking at the hats, they might at first not even appear to be hats, because they are sort of little plays on things like a flower pot and a toadstool. So they might look at them first and think like, oh, that's interesting. But as you look closer, you can see it's actually a hat. And I imagine people would be like, who would ever wear that hat? Why would you have a hat that had a flower growing out of it? So, I hope they sort of have fun when they look at the work. The fact that, they hired Nancy to find artists to really make personal work, I think will hopefully have a huge impact on the patients and the way the hospital feels. Because, I think, at least in my case, I really tried to make an effort to make work that would be meaningful.